All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Fit Podcast. It's just me today, but I want to thank you guys for joining and watching. Before you continue to watch the episode, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please like, comment any topics below, health related, fitness related, anything, food related, physical therapy related, anything. And we will talk about it. We'll debate it. I can bring on guests specific wise for your topic so that you're interested in us kind of debating and talking about and you learning more. So please subscribe. So today's episode, I guess, because it is daytime, is really coming from my perspective as having a minor in nutrition. I guess I can consider myself a nutritionist. So the biggest thing that I find is the debate of how many meals a day a person should eat. That's the first thing that maybe a nutritionist, if you go and ask or you work with me as a client, I will ask you how many meals a day do you normally eat? Then we'll ask you how many calories, and we're not going to dive into all that right now, but we're going to specifically talk about the meals. And we ask you how many meals a day do you normally eat? And a lot of times I hear 3 meals a day is the most common. People think breakfast, lunch, and dinner, typically. That's how they're broken up. That's how I was raised for the majority of my life. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Um, in any way, there's nothing wrong with just eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, depending on what you're putting in your body during those 3 meals. There's nothing wrong with only having 2 meals. Nothing wrong with only having 1 meal necessarily, depending on your body structure, what your goals are, your caloric intake. Can your body function off of that 1 meal? Um, have you trained your body to do that? Like, there's a bunch of different perspectives and rationales and reasons why, like, a 1 meal a day or 2 meal a day meal might work for certain people, but that's not necessarily the normal. It's not necessarily recommended. At least I don't recommend that. Maybe, so I got to clear my back. Maybe you guys might know nutritionists who do. That's totally okay. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. I'm not here to um, I might disagree with people, but I'm not here to make them like say like, oh, that person's completely and totally wrong. No. Every individual is just like I tell all of my clients, every individual program is specifically made for you and your goals and what you want out of it and what's easiest for you to do and how your body reacts to everything that we do. So the biggest debate is 3 meals a day, 4 meals a day, 5 meals a six, or 6 meals a day. Typically, what I do with most of my clients is we start at 4 meals a day, because I tend to find that it's really hard for sometimes people to eat 5 or 6 meals a day and meal prepping all that, getting everything organized. People got families, they got lives, work can be chaotic. You might not have time in the day to kind of eat a meal. Although sometimes I mean, if I need to, I just eat my meal in a matter of 30 seconds just to get the calories in. Um, but I eat 5 meals a day. That's what works for me. So the breakdown of my meals is I have breakfast in the morning. I have a meal right in between my lunch and breakfast, right around 10 o'clock. That's kind of a break that I have with patients. And then I have lunch. And then I have a pre-workout meal before I go and train. Even if I don't train when I'm driving home, I do have that fourth meal. And then I have my dinner, my fifth meal. So that is typically um, how that works for me, at least. Um, so yeah, so that's typically what I do um, for the meals eating. So. But let's to kind of get into and dive into, if you're watching this, what you should be eating, how many meals a day you should be eating, because I feel like there's a lot of debate up for it. People kind of hear a lot of different opinions from a lot of different people, family, friends, relatives, doctors, nutritionists, people at your gym, like, oh, I eat 5 meals a day, you should do this. Like, or you should do 4 meals a day and then have this for one of your meals. Like, everyone has a different opinion. This is just my own opinion, but I do, like I said, this is what I do for most of my clients, and we do adjust it. So I don't just do 4 meals a day with all my clients. Sometimes we do 5 meals a day. Sometimes we do six. I don't do three. So let's kind of dive into, kind of the research behind three meals versus six meals, or I guess three meals, the average breakfast, lunch, and dinner versus more meals a day, like four meals, five meals, six meals, because we can kind of break up to those two categories, four, five, six, three meals. So let me kind of break that down for you. So basically, in my own opinion, what I tell my clients is typically that eating smaller meals, more frequent meals, not necessarily smaller, but we're still getting our daily caloric intake in those six meals, but we're not having all of our calories in between three meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I tend to believe in what I learned in school was it basically helps with weight loss more, helps stabilize your blood sugar, prevents overeating. It doesn't necessarily boost your metabolism or burn more calories that way. It definitely can prevent overeating and the feeling of hunger. Um, and like I said, it improves satiety and reduced overeating. It stabilizes your blood sugar levels more. There's not necessarily, like I said, it doesn't necessarily improve your metabolism, but it does also allow you, in my opinion, to focus on your caloric intake more, because you can kind of be like, okay, I know I need to eat this many calories for this meal, this many calories for this meal. In my opinion, it actually allows clients to have a better idea of what they're eating with each meal and how many calories they're putting in, how many macros they're eating, even micros as well too. And I find that to be a lot easier for my clients rather than here's three meals. You eat a lot during those three meals, and it's really hard. It's a lot harder to keep track of, in a sense, for at least for what I have seen from my clients. Um, Now, there's a lot of different research um, out about that, but the biggest thing that I'd say before we dive into the research is really consider your individual needs and preferences and what works best for you. So if you work with me, I'm going to do that. Our whole plan and program is based around what your individual needs and preferences are. Um, that's the biggest thing. So now, again, I'll kind of reiterate, like eating, like I said, people will automatically say, well, you know, I eat six meals a day. It's going to hurt my digestive system. That's going to really kind of affect again, like I don't feel like I could eat six meals a day or even four meals or five meals a day. And I totally understand that and I totally get that. But I also say, again, and I reiterate these points that you should feel better doing that. You should have more energy doing that. Um, because again, like I said, eating in my opinion, and but also what research studies have found is that eating smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day does and might help with weight loss. This is only for certain reasons of potentially improving satiety. It stabilizes your blood sugar levels more. It can help with drastic fluctuations in blood sugar levels, which can lead to, less cravings and hunger and overeating possibly. It doesn't improve, like necessarily boost your metabolism or help you burn more calories. But I think the biggest thing for people is that need that feeling of hunger and that feeling of overeating is it can really be reduced by not just having six meals, but can have four or five meals a day rather than those three meals, the basic breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I also say it allows you to focus on your overall caloric intake and what you're eating with each meal specifically too. So we kind of just went over that. But let me kind of dive into the research here. I got some research articles that I really want to talk to you guys about today. And when I talk about this, again, this is research, every research article that will kind of, if you read a research article, it will kind of dive into the limitations of the studies. So every study has limitations. Every study tries to rule out any biases, but it does talk about biases that may have occurred in the study as well. So not every research study is pitch perfect and represents the entire patient population or the entire nutrition and health and eating population and stratosphere. Okay. Um, so, for example, one study basically found that participants who ate six meals a day showed no metabolic advantage over those who ate three large meals. What did separate them, which the research study found, was that the three meal group reported higher levels of hunger and an increased desire to eat. Again, didn't necessarily boost your metabolism, but that feeling of hunger, that feeling like you need to eat more, definitely is higher up. And I will say for my own case, when I used to have three meals a day, I definitely always felt hungry. and I would always be, I was very controlled and specific with what I put into my body. But there, like if I had chips or something like that out, or like, I don't know, like pasta or something, it would always, there would be things that I wouldn't want to eat and have it be part of my nutrition that I would eat because I feel like I need to eat because that hunger, that craving is so high, and that desire to eat is there. Another study did find that eating smaller meals more frequently throughout the day had little effect on fasting glucose levels. So obviously blood sugar levels, you would think, when you eat your 3 meals a day, depending on what you eat, your blood sugar levels are going to spike, and then they're going to try to come back down to that homeostasis level. So it's going to be a lot of up and down throughout each meal. Breakfast in the morning, spike up, blood sugar, then they're going to kind of come down, and lunch back up and kind of come back. So it's really kind of an interval up and down. And it also depends on what you're eating during those 3 meals too. You could have a higher spike, or you could have a little bit lower spike if you don't have enough sugar for a meal. However, that study did conclude that waiting until the end of the day to eat the majority calories had a detrimental effect on blood glucose control. So if you do, regardless, what that study did show is that regardless of whether you eat 3 meals a day, 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, you don't want to necessarily eat, and this is a common theme, and it's very true. You don't necessarily want to eat super late at night because that can really have detrimental effect on our blood glucose controls, which I tend to say is important. You don't want to eat super late at night. This is younger people can. They have better metabolisms. Just overall, their body can digest carbs, fat, proteins quicker, more efficiently, and better. And it's a little bit easier on our digestive system being younger than it is when we get older. But I'd also say when you eat a lot at night and let's say you eat a lot of sugar, it might spike your glucose levels up. It might make it harder to sleep. It might make it harder to be able to be more cognitively aware for your brain in terms of your brain is constantly working while you sleep, and you might be able to, it might affect your ability to get like good deep REM sleep while you're after if you ate a super large meal, glucose levels spike, and then you decide to go sleep and try to lay down, your heart's gonna be pumping, heart rate's gonna be going, blood pressure's gonna go spike up a little bit just from the amount of glucose and sugar you have in your system. It's gonna make it a little bit harder to sleep. You're gonna have more energy, depending on what you ate for that last meal as well too. So those things can affect your sleep, which I feel like most people don't kind of realize or think about. Um, so that's one of the studies. Another study that I did find that was interesting was basically one of these studies basically talked about that the research showed that um, we add we add knowledge regarding meat frequency. So we kind of can fall back on what we know, basically that what you eat can play a significant role in overall maintaining your good health. But one research study basically found that it's not necessarily the total calories consumed, it's the nutritional quality of those calories that matter. And the nutritional quality of those calories. And if you have 3 meals, and the nutritional quality of those calories are good, healthy macros and micros, it might not have the adverse effects that you might think. I mean, regardless, it's not really going to boost your metabolism, but it might not spike up or spike down your blood glucose levels. It might not cause an increased cravings or feeling of hunger if you're putting into your body what's healthy. So in that study, it showed it had a lot of limitations in it, but it basically talked about that regardless, like the most pinpoint thing is yes, there is studies that show specifically 3 meals is better than six or six is better than three. But regardless, whatever meal, however many meals you decide to eat a day, really the most important thing, if you're kind of doing the 6 meals or 3 meals, and people say there's adverse reactions for both, you can control those adverse reactions with controlling what you're putting into your body in the macros, carbs, fat, protein, and the microbes the multivitamins, nutrients that you're putting into your body during those meals, regardless of how many meals a day you're going to eat. That is the biggest takeaway that I think is so important. So again, like I think that I just want to reiterate that is such a big point to reiterate. So regarding research that shows whether you do 3 meals a day, 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day. And regardless of how many meals a day you typically eat, regardless of the adverse effects of eating more meals or less meals a day in terms of your blood sugar, metabolism, whether you feel more hungry, whether it affects your ability to kind of track your daily caloric intake. The most important thing is the total calories consumed and the nutritional quality of those calories. That's what matters the most. Because regardless if you eat 3 meals a day or 6 meals a day, if you eat healthy during those meals, the adverse effects of maybe eating more or less meals a day on your body is going to be less detrimental. You're going to have less adverse reactions, going to feel a lot better overall. And I think that's a big point with nutrition overall. It's just if you eat healthier, you're going to feel better. So I think with that, there's just like in terms of what I have found with my own body, and I would love to have um maybe I might have Yusuf come on next week and possibly talk about his own experience and what he recommends to clients because I think that would be a good kind of take and see what he recommends because he's a bodybuilder, I'm a powerlifter. It's a lot different perspectives on eating. And I think we might have the same perspectives for our clients and athletes that we train. But we might do things ourselves a little bit differently. And I'm always interested in that. So I might talk to him about that. We might bring this topic back up. But um, like I said, I think this is an important thing to be able to kind of know about because, everyone talks about should I eat? How many meals a day should I eat? Three, four, five, six, whatever it may be. An important thing is, and the end point that I think I want to tell you is, yes, we kind of went over the adverse reactions to 3 meals a day versus 6 meals a day. And again, we kind of went over just the fact that, eating smaller, more frequent meals can improve satiety. So reduce overeating. It can help you feel fuller for longer, potentially reduce the urge to overeat at larger meals. It can stabilize your blood sugar levels from the fluctuations, and it can reduce cravings and feelings of hunger and overeating. Um, 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 but and like I said, doesn't necessarily improve your overall metabolism. Doesn't give it a little bit of a boost. But there are some studies that show that changing meal frequency significantly affects overall calorie burning. So, if you change it from 3 to 6 meals, it might affect how many calories you're able to lose. If it's significant, if it's like 3 to 4 meals, I wouldn't say that's going to affect it too much. But then, like again, in my eyes, in my own personal opinion, this is for me, this is for my clients, what I've heard is that having more meals a day makes it easier for them to track because the meals are a little bit like if we do 4 meals a day, yes, people might be like, well, it's more meals. I have to track more. In a sense, that may be true, but I also feel like those meals aren't so much bigger and it's less stuff to have to keep track of. And typically, if you have 4 or 5 meals, some of those meals are more snacks and it's smaller things, and it's things that you're not going to really change or implement what you're going to be eating during those snacks or those like 2 or 3 extra meals a day if you do 5 or 6, or even that extra meal if you do 4 meals. So I think that's very important to note that. And some people it is. Some people it is more difficult. So that's why I typically start out with 4 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day for my clients. I still find that to be super easy. And that meal, that extra meal, that fourth meal is typically a pre-workout meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, but we have that pre-workout meal wherever it may be. Between breakfast or lunch, between lunch and dinner, um, after dinner, whatever it may be, before breakfast, like whatever it may be, we still had that meal before training. So yeah, I mean that is so important to me. Nutrition is the hardest thing that I find for clients to be able to kind of understand. Because yes, you can go on the internet and learn a lot, but actually implementing what you learn on the internet to what you put in your body and what you're eating every day and be able to track that and know the effects that those macros or micros or foods you're putting in your body have on your performance, your energy levels, your sleep, your metabolic rate, your blood glucose levels are all things that people don't necessarily know. You can't necessarily teach online versus going to the gym and training and getting exercises online that you found or learning exercises from a high school coach or a buddy of yours. Like those are things that you can kind of self-teach a little bit more. Nutrition is very hard, I find, for one, to get buy-in from clients, but two, to people to understand the importance of kind of how nutrition can affect your training, and nutrition and what you put into your body can affect your overall daily activity, daily life, everything that you do, how you feel, energy levels, etc. So, and I think that's a very important key. So, with that, guys, a little bit shorter episode. I didn't want to go on. I think our next episode, I think I came up with a great idea, that we're going to bring Yusuf on, get his perspective on this, kind of debate it between the two of us. Even if we don't disagree, just talk about, like, devil's advocate, why one is better than the other still, or why one could be better than the other if we do agree, and kind of get his take on what he does with his clients and what he tells them. I think that would be a great episode. So I'm looking forward to doing that with him. But other than that, guys, I really appreciate you guys listening. I'm really trying to grow the channel. Like I said, we're going to bring on more guests onto the channel, and onto the podcast. And I just want to continue to grow my audience. So when we bring on these big name people who have a lot of following, I have an established foundation. So with that, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It takes 5 seconds. Please click. Please like. The likes just get more, it shows more interest in my own podcasts and the episodes. And please comment if you have any questions. Comment below. Ask away. Let me know. Really, honestly, if you're listening, let me know how many meals a day you eat. And if you feel like that works good for you, if you feel like you should change, or you're looking to change, or does it really just vary? Do you sometimes you have 2 meals, sometimes you have 4 meals, and it just varies based off of when you can get the food in. Comment below. I'm interested to hear kind of your perspective and all my subscribers' perspective. So please, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go and follow us on Instagram, AK Fit Physio. That's my business page. And if you are interested in getting help with eating healthier, with your nutrition, because you just don't really know where to start, you can comment below. You can message me on Instagram page. You can go to my website as well too, akfitphysio.com, and I'd be glad to work with you, develop a plan. Let's work together to help you get to your goals, get you the body that you want, and get you back into the shape that you want, and get that scale down where you want it to be. So, other than that, guys, again, subscribe, like, comment, and have a great rest of your day.